tell us a little about yourself, your background, your early life? Basically, who is Ruby apart from the academe?
Well, thank you very much, Mage. No. So basically, let me start then with who am I, or who I am. So basically, I'm not really an academic type of a child. Now, so when I was a young person, I was just actually used to playing basketball, volleyball, has it patentero, all those things. Now, so I'm not really that kind of an academic person. Now, but I would really say then that silently or quietly, my parents now somehow contributed so much in my growth as an academic person eventually, because my father was a physics and math teacher, while my mother is a chemistry and earth science teacher. Now, so basically, they're really now into those kinds of disciplines now. But they did not actually bother forcing me to kind of join or be enthusiastic now with academics. It was only later now that when I kind of passed the scholarship exam now of the only private school in our municipality, that I was forced now to really put my head into academic excellence, because the condition that I will be able to regain or maintain the scholarship is that I should finish top of the batch now for my first year. Now, please take note that when I graduated in high school, I only graduated with honors number 24. Now, and then when the exam, with the result of the exam got out, now I kind of topped now the exam, and that changed everything. Now, into how since I am now with my academic endeavors.
All right, thank you. Before we focus on the academic endeavors, let's talk about something light. You see, you're Ruby. Your name is Ruby, and it's quite unique for a gentleman. How did that happen?
No, good note that I am actually labeled as a gentleman, because somebody labeled me like I look like a gangster now with my picture.
That's true. That's true. Someone texted us yesterday, right?
She said, "Ask them to change your picture. You look like a gangster." No, but here I am a gentleman. But basically, my name Ruby is actually the combination now of the first syllables of the nicknames of my parents. Now, my mother is Romana Ruming, and my father is Isabelo Biloy. Now, and why Ruby? Now, actually, I called up my mother yesterday, and I asked her, why Ruby? Now, and she said, well, actually, it was your father who decided to choose now the spelling R-U-B-Y than the R-O-B-B-I-E. Now, and what could be the reason? And then she said, well, because they said that when you were born, now you had a pinkish cheek. Now, and because of that, my father now also remembered of the the red wine, now Ruby, and it's tuba. And actually, it's tuba. And then when got drunk with tuba, pinkish now. So that's the reason. But actually, it's not only me, because my younger sister is also actually a victim of such creative naming, because my sister is Annabelle, still Romana and Biloy. Now, but actually, it's also inspired by the poem of Edgar Allan Poe's Annabelle. But my brother is the one spared from that kind of thing, because his name James Roy. But that's actually just the name, Ruby. Now, why Ruby?
All right, maybe I should tell the audience and those who are listening right now that your wife's name is actually Russell.
Russell,
and the wife is Russell, the husband is Ruby, right?
Yeah.
And we're all a happy family here. Okay, all right, so what led you to take up philosophy in the first place? What stirred your curiosity?
Well, basically, I wasn't driven into philosophy. Now, this is actually a picture now of my teacher, Mr. Pedro Batingal. Now, he was actually my physics teacher when I was in fourth year. And he kind of encouraged me to go into physics, because he somehow realized that I have this knack now for physics, and I'm really kind of good at this class now. And because of that, now I went into physics. And because also, I kind of graduated top of the class. Now, so basically, now as I've said, now from with honors number 24 to top of the class. Now, and so I took the entrance exam of MSU IIT. Now, and I really passed. Now, I actually applied for applied physics, and I passed. But it was Gulf War 1991. And my father was afraid now that the trouble or the chaos there in the Middle East will spill over to Iligan, a Muslim-dominated city. And so my father did not allow me to pursue physics. And so he was forced me to take up BS Civil Engineering now, because that was his dream now, to become a civil engineer. My father, by the way, before was a contractor, no, but not the kind of contractor that we have nowadays, rich contractors. No. But again, when I studied civil engineering for one school year, I did not enjoy, because I did not really see myself being into engineering. So my second choice, if not physics, then law. No, then I somehow say law. And then if it is law, then what is the best actually course for law, preparatory course for law? Then one of my father's friends said, you go take philosophy. No, but where should I take philosophy? There's no philosophy there. The only way then to take philosophy is in the seminary. Now, so that's actually why now I kind of ventured into philosophy.
So this is a pivotal question that would interest our philosophers, past, present, and emerging. At what point did you realize that philosophy was more than an academic pursuit, that it could actually be your life's vocation?
So a vocation of thought. No? So this is actually in the seminary. We were third year now. And we're actually having our acquaintance party now, because for the SVDs now, the SVDs, I was an SVD seminarian, like those guys there. Now, I was also an SVD seminarian, and I came from Davao. So the SVD has at that time, four formation centers, one in Davao, Cebu City, Urdaneta, Pangasinan, and Quezon City, now the Christ the King. And then when we reach third year, it's there now that all the third years coming from the different formation centers now come together. And so we have that. Now we have that acquaintance party, and we are allowed to drink now. And so in vino veritas. Now, so we're actually asking now, so did you really join the seminary because you wanted to become a priest? No? Or you simply wanted to do philosophy or whatever? No? And I kind of recalled now the reason why I was in the seminary. Now, to be honest, it was not because I wanted to become a priest. I simply wanted to finish philosophy in order to proceed to law. Now, so that's actually now when I realized now that I really have to venture into philosophy, but not for some priestly vocation. At that time.
In any other time?
In any other time, now.
You don't have to answer that.
Yeah, okay.
So you guys, SVD seminarians, you're looking at your future. All right, so what was the turning point that led you to continue the philosophical path even after leaving the seminary?
So this, let me just show you this part here, because these are actually two guys who inspired me. Now, so the first one is Father Ed Guarin. Now, he was actually the one who kind of recruited me now to join the seminary. He's the vocation director of the SVD. Now, and I really informed Father Ed Guarin, now, Father, I don't have any desire to become a priest. Now, I would like to join the seminary because I wanted to become a lawyer. Now, and then I wanted to become a physicist. Now, and then Father Ed said, there's not a problem. Now, join us. Because when you become an SVD, now, maybe along the way, you might decide to become a brother. Now, and there in the seminary, when I was first year, now, or pre-college, I actually met Brother Romel Bacabak. Now, he was still a seminarian, and at the same time, at that time, he was already studying physics, now here at USC. It was a time that I actually kind of met now Brother Rommel in the seminary. Now, so the dream then was that, okay, I'll pursue SVD priesthood, or not actually SVDness, but shift later on to brotherhood, no, like Brother Rommel. That was the plan. Now, but the seminary had a different plan. This is not actually in relation to the question asked by Mage. The seminary kicked me out.
Why?
No.
It's an interesting story.
Actually, I don't know the reason. No, I don't know the reason because I found the reason kind of flimsy. No, but I already
That's reserved for another lecture.
Yeah,
That's reserved for another venue.
But that's also a good thing because of that reason. When I was kicked out, this is actually MA. Now these are they are my classmates in the MA. Now, and among the 6 there, 2, 4, 6, actually only I who's able to finish our MA. Now. So the rest of them did not finish MA philosophy. Only one finished a PhD, but a different PhD in, I think, in cosmological anthropology, something like that. No, so a different PhD. So when I was kicked out, well, it was actually kind of in a quandary now what to do. No, so I asked classmates. Now because this is MA, then some of my classmates in fourth year were already went out or got also kicked out. And so I asked them, what's their job? And then they said one became a medical representative, a legal drug pusher. Another one, taught. He became a teacher. And others pursued nursing and eventually became a nurse. Now, the other one also a PT and eventually became a PT. And with all those possibilities, I kind of reflected, what about me? What do I want? Then I said, I want to become a teacher. So I want to become a teacher. So if I wish to become a teacher, so what kind of a teacher? Then I realized not the elementary teacher nor the high school teacher. Now, I can't actually bear teaching young ones. I have no patience teaching them. So I said, I teach in college. So if I teach in college, then what are the requirements? So it was there, I came to realize that the requirement is master's degree. A master's degree. It so happened that Christ the King has a master's degree in philosophy program. So I applied for MA philosophy. So the decision actually to become a teacher happened even before I was kicked out of the seminary. Because I came to realize that I am really suited for the religious life because of their vow of chastity. I said, I can't take this vow of chastity because every time we give the communion, I kind of actually got attracted to beautiful ladies while giving the communion. It's so sacrilegious. And I said, no, I can't be a priest for this matter. So that was actually fourth year. Because it's in fourth year that we are actually given the opportunity to give the communion. So I already decided to leave the seminary because I would like to get married. So when I was kicked out, my mind was already I am really have this idea that I really wanted to become a teacher. So that's why I tried to pursue philosophy in the masters.
All right, so let's see. You really didn't want to become a priest. You didn't become a drug peddler. So what fueled you? What motivated you, aside from what you just mentioned and the options that were said, to actually take up graduate studies? And where did you take this aside from Christ the King?
So basically, the reason why I pursued masters because of that desire to teach in college, which requires master's degree And so that's the reason why I applied for MA philosophy, because our option is after graduation in fourth year, we proceed to postulancy. But I did not apply for postulancy. I applied for the master's degree because I wanted to become a teacher. And so when I arrive here at USC, so if I wish now to become actually, or to pursue now philosophy, then I kind of encounter, so where's Brother Romy? I have another picture here. Now, actually, Brother Romy Abulad, now our former chair also of the department, was my teacher and mentor now at Christ the King Seminary. Now, he was my teacher in MA Philosophy. And it was there now that he really said that, okay, if you wish to teach now in, or teach philosophy in college, then you have to also pursue now PhD in philosophy. Now, and I really actually planned that ahead. And I had that opportunity now to apply for PhD in philosophy at Ateneo de Manila University, and I got accepted in the program now. But it was at the same time, the time I got married and I had a daughter now. So I did not continue my application at ADMU, so I studied at University of San Carlos, and it's so fortunate now that USC as well has a PhD in philosophy program. And so while I am having a family, I don't have to leave my family and pursue my PhD studies. Now, so it's very auspicious now that there is a PhD in philosophy program at USC.
All right, good. No, interesting. So somewhere in all of this happening, you got married, but then that did not deter you in any way in pursuing your goals, your dreams. Okay, next question. How was it balancing the demands of graduate studies with your responsibilities as a teacher? What did that dual experience teach you about learning and mentorship?
I just want to put together lang the two slides now, because when I was teaching, now I came across this article that says a human being is not actually experiencing a dilemma. Now, it's actually a trilemma. Now, and what is this trilemma? Now, that paper says now, and the problem with this trilemma now, this cannot actually be solved. Now, he said, the human being has this desire now to build a family and also a desire to build a career. And of these two desires, now, he wanted to be excellent. Now, so it's actually family, career, excellence. But this paper said, now, if you wish to pursue career and excellence, your family is going to suffer. If it is family and excellence, your career is going to suffer. If it is both career and family, excellence is going to suffer. Now, which I really think now that seems to be true. Now, because I try to balance now my teaching career and at the same time my family, you know. And so this is the very reason why it took me years to finish my PhD in philosophy. Now, I started my PhD now on the year 1999. Now, but I finished my PhD on the year 2007 when our youngest was born. Now, so I really said, now, it's really a kind of challenging now if you are going to pursue these two things. But why am I trying to do that? Because in our context now, if you wish to build a family, then you have to be financially stable, financially able. And the only way then in the academe for you to fast track now that kind of financial stability is to finish your PhD and get ranked. Now, that's the only way then. So that's my motivation. Aside from my passion for philosophy, it's also my desire now to provide for my family well.
All right, so you managed to finish your PhD in 2007, okay? And it's now 2026. What continues to fuel your passion for philosophy after all these years?
Well, actually, it is my desire now that one day the Philippines now will actually be able to see itself progressed and develop, not just economically now, but at the same time, kind of humanly possible. Yeah. So I kind of see now that philosophy is the avenue now that we usually take for granted now. We kind of set aside because we focus on the hard sciences. No? So these really kind of fuel me. So whenever I am with people, now when we have our CES, now we actually started our CES at Chuun, now way back 2019, if I'm not mistaken. But prior to my engagement with Suun, I was also with the Centrist Democratic Party of the Philippines, now a political party, and we have also this kind of encounter now with the people in the depressed areas now. And I kind of saw myself now in these people growing up now, because that was the kind of life that I also experienced. And I really wish now that someday now, the Philippines will be able to develop. But I kind of understand that from my field of discipline, now hard science is not enough now to make a difference in our country. Now, because our problem is not economic, it is not political, it is not scientific, it is actually philosophical. Now, that's actually what I felt. Our problem is something ethical. We are supposed to be a religious country, but it is a question that keeps on bugging me. How come we are ethically impoverished? And that remains my question.
And so that has fueled you until now to do philosophy.
Until now.
All right.
Until now.
And so having said that, maybe this would also relate to what you just said.
There's the picture.
Hello, Brother Romy. He was also my supervisor in the MA and PhD. A good friend. Okay, so when did you begin to actively engage in philosophical research? And what themes or questions have most shaped your work?
So these are the guys now who really influenced me now into research. The first one is Mina Ramirez. Now, she was the executive director of Asian Studies now Incorporated. Now I met her when I was third year in college, and we had that research now in philosophy of language. Now, and my topic then in philosophy of language was actually ang kuwan ng kuwan, ang pananalinghaga ng wika. Now, so it's actually all about language, and Mina Ramirez now kind of said the problem in the Philippines is actually linguistic in nature. Now, because of our dual value system, now the modern value system, and then the traditional value system, and then the purveyors of these value systems are actually linguistic. The modern is English, and the other one is the vernacular. Now, and so Mina Ramirez said, it is actually the challenge or the duty of those who are conversant of the English language, may I say conversant as well with the English, the Western worldview, now, to translate these worldviews now to the masses. Now, because our institutions are highly Western. Now, and so for these massa not to be fooled by our supposed modern institutions, then they have to be introduced to this. No? And so that was the reason why I joined the Centrist Democratic Party of the Philippines. And it was really my job then, now talking to people, making them understand about the political system of the Philippines, now presidential versus parliamentary, federal versus unitary, all those things. Now, and then also Brother Romy and Father Leonardo Ischoco. Now, Father Ischoco is the dean of the seminary, and his name is also there now in one of our streets here at the university. Now, so these two guys now, the two guys are very instrumental in my pursuit now of philosophy research. Now, Father Narzo was my mentor in the undergrad, while Brother Romy, my mentor in the graduate program, now master's and the PhD.
Okay, interesting. So this is kind of an interesting question, because there have been a lot of views addressing or looking at philosophy and philosophical research to be somewhat, disconnected with reality. Kind of like philosophers are locked in their ivory tower somewhere. What are your thoughts in this regard?
So basically, but the first thing there that you would notice there now is that philosophy is often criticized now as actually too abstract or detached from real life. But I think that criticism says more about our times than about philosophy itself. We live in a world that measures value by usefulness and speed, where worth is equated with productivity. But relevance is not the same as utility. Utility asks, what can this do for me right now? But relevance asks, what does this help me understand about who we are and where we are going? Philosophy's relevance does not lie in producing quick or visible results like scientific research often does. Its impact is slower, more interior, but also more lasting. It teaches us to pause, to see meaning beneath the rush of things, and to ask the deeper why before rushing into the how. That's what people sometimes call abstraction. But it's not detachment. It's what gives us critical distance, the space to think clearly, to reflect, and to act wisely. In that sense, philosophy is not a tool that solves problem instantly. It's an orientation that helps us live and decide more thoughtfully in a complex world. And that brings me to the question of abstraction. You know, what many call philosophy's abstraction is actually its critical distance, its ability to step back and examine the assumptions that guide our actions. Abstractions is not an escape from reality. No? It is insight. So in a world driven by innovation and utility, philosophy gives us the space to think before acting, to uncover the values beneath our systems, and to ask the harder questions. Why, how, and for whom are we doing this? It's a bit like that question Pasco once asked us. Pasco, now when we had the Pasco, now Pasco asked us, now, what is the philosophy of education of USC? So here at USC, we have also our two catchphrases, our two mottos. Now, we have education, now a witness to the word, and we have also education with a mission. Now, so witness to the word is the theological foundation of our philosophy, while education with a mission is the pedagogical. I kind of look at it now as the pedagogical direction of our philosophy of education. No? So that's actually what the philosophy does best. No? So philosophy does not build machines. Instead, it builds the grammar of thought, the very frameworks that make ethical and humane action possible. In that sense, what looks like abstraction is actually philosophy's greatest relevance. Now, it gives us the distance to see clearly and the depth to act responsibly. This actually brings me to that movie, Oppenheimer. No? And that's exactly the danger we see now when knowledge loses that moral and reflective dimension. The movie Oppenheimer captures this tension perfectly. The struggle between utility and meaning that philosophy has been wrestling with since modernity began. The Manhattan Project was in many ways the height of Enlightenment rationality, the belief that through calculation and objectivity, science could secure progress and control. It was justified in purely utilitarian terms. The bomb would end the war, save lives, and strengthen national power. But that same logic exposed the danger of value-neutral science. Knowledge pursued without asking what it means or what it should do. Oppenheimer's moral crisis came when he began to move from utility to relevance, from asking what can this do to what kind of world have we created. And that's where philosophy enters. It restores the dimension of meaning and responsibility that science alone cannot provide. So that lesson from Oppenheimer about the danger of knowledge without reflection brings us to a parallel shift in the world of research itself. Now, because when we talk about research before, it's all about quantitative. Now, for a long time, modern science now operated under the belief that knowledge could be completely value-free, that objectivity and measurement alone could capture truth. So that approach brought incredible progress, but it also created blind spots, especially ethical ones. Just as Oppenheimer's moral crisis revealed the limits of utilitarian reasoning, the emergence of qualitative research reflected a similar realization in academia, that not everything that matters can be counted. Qualitative inquiry arose to restore meaning, context, and humanity to research. It treats people not as data points, but as interpreters of their own worlds, emphasizing understanding over prediction and care over control. So like philosophy, qualitative research recognizes that truth is never detached or purely objective. It is contextual, relational, and lived. Both remind us that knowledge must serve not only precision, but also understanding and compassion. And so, circling back to the question of philosophy's relevance, its impact is not immediate the way scientific breakthroughs are. Science changes the world through its inventions. Philosophy changes how we understand and shape the world. Its work is slower, quieter, but deeper and longer lasting.
All right, thank you for that well-curated answer. But spontaneously, Sir Ruby, in less than 3 sentences, what is the best part of being in philosophy?
Now, again, as I said, now the focus of philosophy is on meaning. Now, because when we look at science, now science simply look now at a part. Now, so there is a problem, and so science now solves that problem. Now, so it's like actually if I have now a cough, now a very hard cough, now, and so I went to the doctor, and then the doctor said, "You take now you take antibiotic." No? And so I took the antibiotic, my cough is gone, but I am allergic to the antibiotic. And so I have to take another medicine now to cure the side effect of that antibiotic, but at least my cough is gone. No? So that's how actually science behaves. No? So comes philosophy. No? So enters philosophy. Why do I have to take my cough? What's the point of doing all these things? Sooner or sooner, we all are gonna die. Now, what's the point? What's the point? No? And so that's the ultimate question that a philosopher asks. Why is there something rather than nothing? Now, why do we exist? Now, why were we born? If in the end, we are just going to die, what's the point? And that remains a question now, looking for a definitive answer. Now, that is why when we talk about then philosophy, so science, now, when science look at understanding, so it likes to understand, though thus it brings me to the work of Aristotle, because Aristotle was actually the one now who started science in some sense. Now, so the final cause, now, so the existence of these natural beings, trees, viruses, bacteria, why do they exist when they cause us diseases, they cause us death? Now, who is the efficient cause of all these things? Then God. We say God. Then we have to know the mind. So to understand, therefore, is to grasp the mind of God. What is in the mind of God? But that is something impossible. I cannot even grasp the mind of Sir Patrick, much more God. No? And so that's the reason also that there is this kind of change in how we view truth. Before, truth was correspondence. Now, thus, impression. I know the truth. Now, I see things from experience. Then it's impressed in my mind. No? But Kant said, we cannot actually know the thing in itself. And so that leads us to pragmatic truth. What is true? Now, if it is useful, if it has impact, if we can calculate the result. So that leads us to Thomas Bayes. Now, No? So the Bayesian theorem, now actually talking about this possibility of us adjusting our truth depending on the results. In other words, there is no absolute truth, and that is where philosophy comes in. Because despite all these things, now we shouldn't commit suicide. We have to, with all these absurdities, now, man choose to live, to continue living.
All right, as Albert Camus said, to live is to keep the absurd alive. We're down to our last two questions. And, okay, we'll talk about your research, no? Your Filipino philosophy research. Could you share examples from your own research that show how philosophical thinking can engage real-world problems, perhaps in education, ethics, or in Filipino identity?
So this is actually my research. Now, actually, I've been asking myself, now, why is it that the Philippines is touted to be a Christian country? No? But in the midst of it being a Christian country, it is one of the most corrupt countries in the world. No? And in fact, they said the reason though that the dollar now is 59 pesos, no, if not mistaken, because the investors now are leaving the country now because they cannot actually trust our system. And then if you look at these people in the Senate now, in the three branches of our government now, executive, now legislative, judiciary, now some, if not most, of these people now, in one time in their life, attended now a Catholic or a religious now institution. What went wrong? That is really a question, no, that keeps bothering me. Now, why are we not effective? Now, why are these religious schools not effective in molding the people? Now, so I actually, that's why I said that when we do philosophy, now, philosophy is actually an interdisciplinary discipline. Now, because a philosopher is not a person now who philosophizes from a vacuum. Now, a philosopher is one who recognizes now the endeavors of other disciplines, from history, from sociology, from political science, now from economics, now, and actually trying to make a synthesis and make sense of a certain phenomenon. Now, and so I came to realize, is it not because of our colonial now experiences? Now, but if I say colonial, how come Vietnam was able to actually rise itself from there being a colonial or colonized country? What about Malaysia? Now, what about other countries? How come the Philippines now wasn't able to rise from the ashes of colonization? What went wrong? Now, because I kind of realized it is actually because of our education. Now, with the way we were actually educated. So, I kind of think that in education, there lacks a philosophical thinking. We talk about critical thinking. No? But did we really give an avenue for our students to think critically? No? Because when we talk about critical thinkers are actually disruptors, people who disrupt. And if there is a critical thinker in your classroom, your 1-hour class won't be enough. And if you have critical thinkers, no, so those people who really ask assumptions, deep question, painful questions, they are going to disrupt the flow of the class.
So Ruby, I remember Brother Romy would say these critical thinkers are the killjoys.
The killjoys. Yeah, in fact. Because you want to finish your class, no, and go home. we are actually living in a structured environment. Now, so that one is a problem. Now, but again, we look at it then from our colonial system of education. So I think philosophical thinking is supposed to help us rethink our colonial legacy and move beyond an education system that often prioritizes efficiency, compliance, or technical skill. It asks, what kind of person are we forming? What kind of relationships are we cultivating? This is where Filipino philosophical concepts like loob and kapwa become transformative. That's actually my discussion is always in Filipino philosophy, and I tried actually to look into those Filipino value systems now, and this is actually the influence of Mina Ramirez to me, to study now. Because we know so much about Western values penetrating in our Filipino psyche. But Mina Ramirez said, externally, we follow institutional values, but internally, subconsciously, we actually follow a different value. The reason, the Filipino, coming from the Western mindset, we are actually kind of introduced to an either-or mindset. It's either you are with me or you are against me, either or, not both and. And as a result, if we look at our value system, Mina Ramirez and Hokano said, our culture is driven by a conflicting value system, the modern value system and the traditional value system. The problem with these value systems, they are internally incongruent. Now, they cannot be both and as a result, so we have actually this kind of conflict in how we interpret our values. For example, what is then the demand of the institution? Community, kinship, loyalty. But how is it viewed by our modern institution? Nepo babies. That's nepotism. If you have their familism, that's favoritism. Friends, cronies. Prompt service, personalism. Elderly concern, autocratism. Strictness, authoritarianism. Now, if you are in the modern institutions, government, school, modern corporations, so what are their demands? According to rules, community, that's red tape. Through channels, that's bureaucratic. Individual, that's unconcerned. Frankness, that's rude. According to merit, that's unsympathetic. So this is that conflict, which Hokano said, that actually results to an internal incongruence. My work in ethics focuses on pananagutan. The Tagalog term pananagutan, or in English, responsibility. So pananagutan actually is not just responsibility, but for the Filipino psyche, it's a shared moral accountability. It is not just an individual virtue, but something lived daily in bayanihan and pakikiramay. So it's about seeing ourselves as bound to others, responsible for and with them. But reclaiming these Filipino concepts does not mean rejecting universal principles like justice or human rights. In fact, these enrich these so-called concepts. For example, karangalan or honor deepens the idea of dignity by tying it to our obligations to family and also to the community. While katarungan or justice includes pagmamalasakit or compassionate concern for others. Even kalayaan or freedom carries an ethical note. For most Filipinos, when I was still teaching philosophy of the human person, I asked my students, now what do you mean by freedom? And it never failed yet. They would always say, freedom is the ability to do anything I want to do. That for them is freedom. But if we look at it closely, is it really freedom? Doing anything I want. That is capriciousness. That is arbitrariness. That is not freedom. Now, what ought to be freedom? Freedom is doing the right thing. No? But what is the right thing? No? The right thing is the one that goes against one's inclination. No? Because inclination is simply driven by gravity. No? If we allow gravity now to dominate our life, so you're actually sliding now down a slope, and then you see some spikes there. Now, is continuing now with that inclination the right thing to do? No? It will cost you your death. So what is the right thing to do? To counter that inclination, to counter gravity. That is freedom. Because now if we continue to slide along this inclination, it is not going to do the right thing, result to the right thing. So freedom is not doing anything that I want to do. No, it's doing the right thing. And so, a true philosophy of responsibility bridges universal norms and Filipino relational ethics. And it reminds us that the fight against corruption, for instance, is not only about laws, but about cultivating hiya, loob, and pakikiramay. A moral conscience rooted in pananagutan sa kapwa at bayan. Moreover, pananagutan has a broader philosophical demand, because together with pantayong pananaw that call to think from us and for us, it insists that our moral and national identity must include the totality of Filipino experience. Inclusion here is not charity, it is justice. To recognize the marginalized, the forgotten, or the excluded in our collective story is not an act of generosity, but an act of ethical truth-telling. Now, that's ethics.
Looking back on your journey, how would you describe the meaning of philosophizing Filipino? How do memory, identity, and ethics of the self come together in your life's work?
So basically, this actually when I do Filipino philosophy. Now, so I always have in my mind Napoleon Mabacquiao, Father Sir Napoleon Mabacquiao, now who kind of defined Filipino philosophy, saying that Filipino philosophy is actually an act of a person now who has in mind the well-being of the Filipino people. Now, you may be a Filipino or not a Filipino. Now, if you have in mind the well-being of the Filipino people, then you're actually doing Filipino philosophy. So that is why when I do Filipino philosophy, it is not just about result, no? But why am I doing this? No? I always actually get reminded of that Korean story. Now, so right after the Korean War, there was the president of Korea who sent all the Koreans abroad. Now, but telling those people whom he sent abroad now to learn engineering, nursing, medicine, anything, and go back to Korea. Now, so that we will make Korea great. Now, and Koreans need not leave Korea now to enjoy prosperity. Now, this is also actually what I am dreaming. Now, so conscientize the Filipinos, the students. Okay, do good. Now, be a good engineer, be a good nurse, be a good pharmacist, a dietitian. Now, but why are you doing this? It is not just for your family. Now, it is actually for the nation. Now, but I always say, now, it is quite, because if you notice, now, when we talk about education, it is always actually educating the poor, no? And the poor always that having that desire to get education. For what reason? No, in order to better off their lives. No, but I always say, no, as USC, who should we be educating? I always say, we have to educate the elite. And for sure, they don't like that term, elite. You are elitist, you are exclusivist, so on and so forth. But please, what do I mean by elite? An elite is a person or group of persons who has the ability to make a difference, to make a change. So that the moment our graduate finished his education, then becomes a businessman, then his concern is not only to extract profit, but see to it also that his or her workers are well taken care of, well compensated, they are liberated, they are emancipated. The engineers, the same thing. So why are we doing these things? To make a difference. Because only those who are truly educated makes a difference. All the rest find employment. So we shouldn't actually produce graduates who will end up looking for employment. We should actually produce graduates who will become catalysts, movers, leaders, not just mere employers. Because we are still educating them to become employees. We are still actually teaching them technical skills to get employed. But I think we have to kind of change the way we look at Carolinian education. Not just to educate them to get employed, but to become leaders. But where shall we start? Make them critical. Give them some leeways, leverage, not structured education.
Sir Patrick said this is notes from the field. Okay. What's your parting shot to our audience, to our listeners later?
Yeah, doing philosophy is not really easy. I came across great minds from the other disciplines. But there was philosophy is a different animal. And I would say, yeah, maybe. But again, it is a matter of perspective, a matter of openness. Because that's also how I look at philosophy before. Because I also look at philosophy from a utilitarian perspective. What will be its impact? What will be its result? But again, from my different mentors. So slowly but surely, most especially Brother Romy, would always say, doing philosophy is not really easy. It entails a lot of reading, meticulous reading. And we know when we read one page, we will fall asleep. But again, the best thing there, after you've fallen asleep, wake up and continue reading. And actually, when you have read a lot, insights are coming in. So your cell phone is also very helpful. There's a record button in your cell phone. So when insights come in, then you just actually mumble. So actually, my cell phone has a lot of recording when I do walking there at the back of the library. So every morning, then an
and
insight,
even when we send
an idea.
messages, right? There's something in our heads like, I have to send this as a recording.
Yes, something like that. Because insights come in. But there are no insights if you haven't read. It's the same with research. Right. You can't write anything if you haven't read.
Yeah, okay. I remember before when I was still doing my research, I said, I cannot write. And then a friend said, you know what, I cannot read. So who has the bigger problem? The one who cannot write or the one who cannot read? So I leave that to you students to discern. Thank you so much, Sir V. Thank you, Sir Patrick.
Thank you very much, Sir Patrick.
This has been Paige from the Philosophy Department. Thank you.